The Battle of Ia Drang was the first major battle between regulars of the United States Army and regulars of the People's Army of Vietnam of North Vietnam during the Vietnam War. The two-part battle took place between November 14 and November 18, 1965, at two landing zones west of Plai My in the Central Highlands of South Vietnam as part of the U.S. Air Mobile Offensive codenamed Operation Silver Bayonet High. In its operational context, the Battle of Ia Drang occurred during the second phase of the three-phase Plai My campaign. The first phase was conducted by the ARVN Armored Task Force, the second phase by the U.S. 1st Air Cavalry Division, and the third phase by the ARVN Airborne Group. The battle derives its name from the Drang River, which runs through the valley west of Plai My, where the engagement took place. Representing the American forces were elements of the 3rd Brigade, 1st Cavalry Division, the 17th AC Battalion, 2 7th AC Battalion and the 2 5th AC Battalion of the 2nd Air Cavalry Brigade of the United States Army, facing elements of the B-3 front of the PAVN and Viet Cong. The battle involved close air support by U.S. Army helicopter gunships and USAF and USN tactical jet aircraft, and a bombing attack by USAF B-52s. The initial North Vietnamese assault against the landing 1st Battalion, 7th Cavalry at LZ X-Ray was repulsed after 2 days and nights of heavy fighting on November 14 to 16, with the Americans inflicting heavy losses on North Vietnamese regulars and Viet Cong guerrillas. In a follow-up surprise attack on November 17, the North Vietnamese overran the marching column of the 2nd Battalion, 7th Cavalry near LZ Albany in the most successful ambush against U.S. forces of the war. Both sides suffered heavy casualties. The U.S. had nearly 250 soldiers killed but claimed to have counted about 1,000 North Vietnamese bodies on the battlefield and estimated that more were killed by airstrikes and artillery. The battle was documented in the CBS special report Battle of Ia Drang Valley by Morley Safer and the critically acclaimed book We Were Soldiers, Once and Young by Harold G. Moore and Joseph L. Galloway. In 2002, Randall Wallace depicted the first part of the battle in the film We Were Soldiers starring Mel Gibson and Barry Pepper as Moore and Galloway, respectively. Galloway later described Ia Drang as the battle that convinced Ho Chi Minh he could win. Ho Chi Minh was the North Vietnamese leader at the time. Background: in 1963 and 1964, a series of political and military mishaps had seriously affected the capabilities of the Army of the Republic of Vietnam main forces in South Vietnam. ARVN commanders were initially under the direct orders from President Ngo Dinh Diem to avoid pitched combat at all costs, which allowed the NLF forces to train and grow without significant opposition, despite losing several leaders to CIA search and destroy squads, which relied heavily on rocket attacks using helicopters. After Diem's overthrow in a 1963 coup, the new military leadership largely consisted of commanders put in place by Diem prior to the coup. They showed equal lack of interest in fighting the NLF, spending their time in a series of coups and counter-coups. In this unstable political climate, the NLF units were able to mount increasingly larger military operations. At first these were limited to building up larger formations, but by late 1964 they had evolved into an all-out war against ARVN units, which they outperformed in every way. At the end of 1964, Chairman Mao Zedong of the People's Republic of China turned on the green light for the Viet Cong to upgrade attacking forces to division size in its conquest of South Vietnam. In the meeting dated October 5, 1964, Mao Zedong told Pham Van Dong, according to Comrade Le Duan, "You had the plan to dispatch a division to the south. Probably you have not dispatched that division yet. When should you dispatch it? The timing is important." In the Plai My campaign, the PAVN received money, food and equipment supplies military advisors and signal specialists from China, with the establishment of a Chinese advisors' headquarters in Phnom Penh, Cambodia. The natural corridors often mentioned by General de Lange in 1951 would not be efficient without the existence of Cambodia, without rice from the Tonle Sap Lake, without the concealment of Red Chinese advisors who enjoyed full amenities living in Phnom Penh, without the excellent communication by ways of telephone and airgram between Phnom Penh and Hanoi. In 1965, the NVA 304th Division received orders to prepare to infiltrate South Vietnam. Early 1965, the Joint General Staff summoned me and the 304th Division commander to give us the order to enter the South on a combat mission. By early 1965, the majority of rural South Vietnam was under limited VC control, increasingly supported by Vietnam People's Army regulars from North Vietnam. While ARVN units in the field were hopelessly outclassed and entire units were ambushed and slaughtered, American advisors in the field had long been pushing for the ARVN forces to be taken over by U.S. commanders. In addition to actually getting the men to fight, the U.S. command's better training and leadership were expected to be more than enough to make up for the deficiencies of the ARVN command. The new commander in Vietnam, General William Westmoreland, felt the direct application of U.S. forces was a more appropriate solution. Perhaps the ARVN units would not fight, but the same was certainly not true of the U.S. military. By early 1965, Westmoreland had secured the commitment of upward of 300,000 U.S. regulars from Lyndon B. Johnson, and a build-up of forces took place in the summer of 1965. The VC forces were in nominal control of most of the countryside by 1965 and had established military infrastructure in the Central Highlands, to the northeast of the Saigon region. Vietnamese Communist forces had operated in this area during the previous decade in the First Indochina War against the French, winning a notable victory at the Battle of Mang Yang Pass in 1954. There were few reliable roads into the area, making it an ideal place for the Communist forces to form bases. Relatively immune from attack by the generally road-bound ARVN forces. During 1965, large groups of North Vietnamese regulars of the PAVN moved into the area to conduct offensive operations. Attacks to the southwest from these bases threatened to cut South Vietnam in two. The U.S. command saw this as an ideal area to test new air mobility tactics. Air mobility called for battalion-sized forces to be delivered, supplied and extracted from an area of action using helicopters. Since the heavy weapons of a normal combined arms force could not follow, the infantry would be supported by coordinated close air support, artillery and aerial rocket fire, arranged from a distance and directed by local observers. They had been practicing these tactics in the U.S. in the new 11th Air Assault Division. The 11th was renamed the 1st Cavalry Division, which had been in South Korea since the Korean War. The 1st Cavalry Division's reflagged units became the 2nd Infantry Division, and the 1st Cavalry's colors were transferred to the 11th Air Assault at Fort Benning, just before deployment overseas. The division's troopers, dubbed themselves the Air Cavalry, in July 1965 began deploying to Camp Red Cliff and KHE, Vietnam. By November, most of the division's 3 brigades were ready for operations. It was this U.S. troop buildup that caused B-3 Field Front Command to launch earlier the attack of the Plime Camp, which had been planned for December, with only the 232nd and 33rd Regiments, instead of the planned 3 regiments, before the air cavalry troops were combat-ready. In August 1965, the NVA 304th Division received order to intensify preparation to go to Central Highlands by September. Early August 1965, the Defense Ministry gave the order to 304th Division Commander to bring the entire 304th Division to Battlefront B. All preparations must be achieved within 2 months. On October 19, the PAVN attacked the Plym camp with the 320th and 32nd Regiments, and on October 26, with the Plym camp liberated, AIVN 2nd Corps Command requested that 1st Cav TAOR be extended to include the Plymy area except the camp itself, and be assigned the Long Reach operation. This operation was carried out in 3 parts: All the Way, Silver Bayonet I and Silver Bayonet II. On November 10, 3rd Air Cavalry Brigade replaced 1st Air Cavalry Brigade and was ordered to perform a diversionary maneuver by switching the operational direction to the east to entice B3 Field Front to regroup its 3 regiments in assembly areas, to stage a second attack of Plym camp set for November 16, with American units seemingly withdrawing to the east of Plym. The decision was to attempt to regain its early advantage with an attack. The target once again was the Plym CIDG camp. The division headquarters set the date for attack at the 16th of November, and issued orders to its 3 regiments. On November 11, intelligence source revealed the disposition of the 3 NVA regiments: the 66th at vicinity YA9104, the 33rd at YAR 940,010, and the 32nd at YAR 820,070. On November 12, the 3rd Brigade was given order to prepare for an air assault near the foot of the Chupongs. At 13 degrees 34 minutes 11 seconds north, 107 degrees 40 minutes 54 seconds east, 13.56972 degrees north, 107.68167 degrees east, 13.56972, 107.68167, 14 miles northwest of Plymy. On November 13, Colonel Brown met with Lieutenant Colonel Moore and told Moore to conduct an airmobile assault the following morning. Landing zones: Brown selected his 1st Battalion, 7th Cavalry, led by Lieutenant Colonel Hal Moore, for the mission, with the explicit orders to not attempt to scale the mountain. There were several clearings in the area that had been designated as possible helicopter landing zones, typically named for a letter of the NATO phonetic alphabet. Moore selected LZ X-ray at 13 degrees 34 minutes 4.6 seconds north, 107 degrees 42 minutes 50.4 seconds east, 13.567944 degrees north, 107.714000 degrees east, 13.567944, 107.714000 was his landing zone. A flat clearing surrounded by low trees at the eastern base of the Chupong Massif and bordered by a dry creek bed on the west. The Ia Drang River was about 2 kilometers to the northwest. LZ Albany about 2.5 kilometers to the northeast of X-ray at 13 degrees 35 minutes 43 seconds north, 107 degrees 42 minutes 55 seconds east, 13.59528 degrees north, 107.71528 degrees east, 13.59528, 107.71528. LZ Columbus, about 2.2 kilometers east of Albany at 13 degrees 35 minutes 20.8 seconds north, 107 degrees 44 minutes 29 seconds east, 13.589111 degrees north, 107.74139 degrees east, 13.589111, 107.74139. LZ Tango about 2 kilometers to the north of X-ray at 13 degrees 35 minutes 28.8 seconds north, 107 degrees 42 minutes 46 seconds east, 13.591333 degrees north, 107.71278 degrees east, 13.591333, 107.71278. LZ Yankee, a similar distance south of X-ray at 13 degrees 33 minutes 14.1 seconds north, 107 degrees 43 minutes 1.3 seconds east, 13.553917 degrees north, 107.717028 degrees east, 13.553917, 107.717028. LZ Yankee was on sloping ground and could only fit about 6 to 8 helicopters at one time. LZ Whiskey, 2.1 kilometers southeast at 13 degrees 33 minutes 17.8 seconds north, 107 degrees 43 minutes 40.8 seconds east, 13.554944 degrees north, 107.728000 degrees east, 13.554944, 107.728000. LZ Victor at 13 degrees 33 minutes 33 seconds north, 107 degrees 43 minutes 47.8 seconds east, 13.55917 degrees north, 107.729944 degrees east, 13.55917, 107.729944, about 6 kilometers to the south-southeast. Artillery support would be provided from Firebase FB Falcon, about 8 kilometers to the northeast of X-ray at 13 degrees 37 minutes 22 seconds north, 107 degrees 45 minutes 51 seconds east, 13.62278 degrees north, 107.76417 degrees east, 13.62278, 107.76417. X-ray was approximately the size of a misshapen football field, some 100 meters in length. It was estimated that only 8 UH-1 Hueys could fit in the clearing at a given time. The 1st, 7th was typical for U.S. Army units of the time, consisting of 3 rifle companies and a heavy weapons company, with about 450 men in total. Of the 765 of the battalion's authorized strength, they were to be shuttled by 16 Huey transport helicopters, which could generally carry 10 to 12 equipped troops. So the battalion would have to be delivered in several lifts, carrying just less than one complete company each time. Each lift would take about 30 minutes. Moore arranged the lifts to deliver Bravo Company first, along with his command team, followed by Alpha, Charlie, and finally Delta. Moore's plan was to move Bravo and Alpha northwest past the creek bed, and Charlie south toward the mountain. Delta Company, which comprised special weapons forces including mortar, recon, and machine gun units, was to be used as the battlefield reserve. In the center of the LZ was a large termite hill that was to become Moore's command post.